Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Oya and I lead developer experience at Rootstock Labs. Rootstock is the first and longest running Bitcoin sidechain. What makes Rootstock special? That it is fully EVM compatible. So with Rootstock, you get the best of both worlds, the programmability of Ethereum and security of Bitcoin. We've created this particular series to walk you through some of the very useful developer integrations and tools that we have so that you are fully equipped to build on Bitcoin with Rootstock. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Jonjon from a very cool project called Envio, and we'll be talking about indexing. Jonjon, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. Yeah, my name's Jonjon. I'm one of the co-founders of Envio. And yeah, as you mentioned, we support Rootstock and super excited today to really dive in and from scratch, I mean, literally zero, show you what you can do, how you can get up and started and index data on Rootstock and build something cool. So it's going to be a fun one. So definitely stick around.
That's very well. Yeah. Cool. Let's start with basics, Jonjon. What is Envio and how did the project came about?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So Envio, in this context, what we're going to be talking about today, provides a data indexing framework for you. And if you don't know what that means, basically, like on Rootstock, you have all of these different blocks, and in each block, there's a large amount of transactions. And, some might be swaps, some might be you sending me some wrapped Bitcoin or whatever it might be. And you as a developer, if you've built an application, you generally actually only care about a small subset of that data on Rootstock. All of the data may be relating to your protocol. And just like in a library, you might have books stacked everywhere and you're searching just for a certain book or piece of information. Indexing is this framework that allows you to scan through all the data and just take out the data that you care about relating to your application, so that perhaps when a user visits your website, it's very instant for them to be able to see that information relating to them. So that's really what we provide, this indexing framework. It allows you to lightning fast scan through all the Rootstock data and get the data you care about.
Actually, yeah, it's a very important problem that is solving. Pretty much key to any of that. Unfortunately, Jonjon, how did you come about to how did you found the project? We
Sure.
understand what it's for, but what about maybe a little bit about your background and about
Yeah.
how you actually got into Web3 in general? I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it actually all started with hackathons. I'd been building with some friends at different projects, and we went to things like ETH India, ETH Cape Town, ETH Berlin, and really at these hackathons, that's where we kind of honed our craft and I guess really got familiar with the Web3 space. And I would definitely encourage everyone. The best way to get involved is just by doing and building small things and seeing how it goes and progressing from there. And Envio came essentially from us building dApps and having this issue ourselves. And that's where we really shifted into this indexing problem, as it's something that a lot of dApps face themselves, including us.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so cool to hear. Yeah, we do a lot of hackathons at Rootstock Labs, and it's amazing to see those. But that's normally the number one advice I give to anybody. It's try to solve a problem like that came to you that you had and came across. Because
Exactly.
there's other developers that also, yeah, very sweet. Cool. Shall we jump into how to actually use Envy on Rootstock?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll share my screen, and yeah, just as I said, we're gonna go right from the start. So you're really gonna be able to figure out from scratch how to do. So you can see I've opened up envio.dev here, and you can see the first important thing you might want to check out is the docs. All of this information that I'm talking about, you can also find on the docs, and it's really easy. It tells you how to get started. On this Getting Started tab here, you can see there are a couple prerequisites that you should likely already be familiar with or pretty quick to install, things like Node and Docker. But yeah, really it's a quick one to get going. But before I get into the weeds of actually building it, I want to really show you what an indexer looks like and what it's actually doing. So for that, I'm going to actually bring up another tab here. And again, I'm going to go to Envio, and I'm going to look at this Explorer, because what we have is hundreds of indexes that are actually already deployed. And I'd like you to just see kind of, although an index is predominantly like a bit of a back-end thing and it's not super visual, it's quite useful. Cool. So I've hit this Explorer tab, and this is what I was talking about. There's hundreds of these indexes deployed on the Envio hosted service, but I wanted to show you kind of what an indexer is looking like and what it's doing. So I'm going to scroll through these tabs over here, and I'm going to actually choose this one, which is one I deployed. But what happens is when you deploy this indexer, what it's looking for is events in a different blockchain. So you can see, for example, on Ethereum mainnet here, there's 21 million blocks, and it's scanning through the entire blockchain and processing any events you care about that are related to your smart contract or your framework. And from that, it's helping you build out an API. So Envio is multi-chain, and we support Rootstock, but if you deploy it elsewhere, you can have Rootstock and other chains all in one indexer, which is nice. You can see right here in real time, we're indexing multiple different chains. This is for Uniswap v4, in fact. And if I hit something over here called the playground, essentially you are now able to make these GraphQL requests to get data. So we'll get into that, but you could get things like, what are the swaps? What does it look like? And that's what we're actually going to build from scratch today. We're going to index a whole lot of Uniswap v3 pools on Rootstock. And let's even see if we have time, we can build a super small website that actually shows this data. So what we're going to do is let's get started super simply, and I want to show you how easy this is. Now remember, all you need to do is have these basic tools installed: Node, PNPM, Docker. You can see it in the docs. I already have them installed, so I'm not going to reinstall them. You can do that, and likely you already have all of this on your machine. But what we're going to do is just start off by going into the Rootstock Block Explorer. And you see I've already got a tab of it open, but I'm going to open another tab. And what I'm going to do is just find a contract address, and let's find some data we want to index and start from scratch. So I'm going to look at the tokens, and let's choose a token, maybe this RIF USD dollar, for example. You see it has this address, and let's say we want to get every transfer of this RIF USD dollar that's ever happened on Rootstock. So we could perhaps form calculations like, what's the average transfer size? How many holders are there? What's the total number of transfers? There could be a whole lot of analytics you want to do like that, or you might have a front end where you want to display this information. To get started, I'm going to just make a directory, and I'm going to call this one temp. Just because we're going to actually do another one in a second, but I just want to show you how quick it is to start. And all you do is you run this envio init command, and we're going to choose TypeScript as the language we would like for our index. And what I'm doing now is going to auto-generate an indexer for us. All we need is that contract address. I'm going to choose this contract import option, and I'm going to actually say I want to get all of this data from a block explorer, or rather all of the event structure data. And if I scroll all the way down, I think it's still labeled as RSK. You can see there's lots of options. I'm going to hit enter, and now I've copied that address from the block explorer. I'm going to paste it across here now. And when I hit enter, what it's going to go do is it's going to go grab all of the events that are being emitted from that contract address. So you can see there's things like admin changed, approval, beacon upgraded, a lot of things that probably won't actually be emitted a lot, but then you'll go down and you'll see this transfer. That one's going to be emitted a lot. That every time one person sends some of this RIF USD dollar from me to you, this event is going to be emitted, and it's going to be a data point that we can use. So I'm actually going to just only index this transfer event, because why not just do one? And I'm just going to say I'm finished, and I'm not going to add an API token for now. I'm just going to skip. And essentially what it's now doing is auto-generating our indexer. So remember, all I've done is done Envio init. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run I'm just going to check I don't have an indexer anywhere else. So I ran that pnpm envio stop, but you won't need to do that. So that's all we've done so far. And now the second command I'm going to run is going to set us up and index all of our data. So I'm going to hit pnpm envio dev. This starts the indexer, and we'll come back to that interface in a second. But you can see just like that, we are mincing through the blockchain. You can see it scanning and processing all of those events. So we'll give it a second. But there we go. In less than 20 seconds, we've scanned the entire Rootstock chain, and we've extracted all 219,000 transfer events from the RIF US dollar. So that's us getting started real nice and quick. What that now looks like is the following. If we head to this Hasura console, this is just locally, we can click this data tab over here. And again, I'm just going to nicely zoom in over there so it's a bit easier for you to say. But yeah, we can look and we can find this transfer table. And if I look over here, we have all of these transfers from, to, and the value. So in our database, we've got this whole big list of transfers. And remember, there was like 200,000 of them. So this is often the hard part, getting all the data. But now we have it. And just to show you an example of what you would actually do with it is you would make a GraphQL request to actually grab this data. So I'm going to make a query here. And you would say, I want to get 10 transfers. I want to know who it's from, who it's to, the value, and the ID. And you create this GraphQL request. And right now it's just to your local endpoint. But in a second, I'll show you how we can deploy it. You hit this play button, and hopefully that makes sense. You now have your data that's returned to you, and it's got these 10 items, each being transfers, who it's from, who it's to, a value, and an ID. And already you could imagine a front end, my website, it's super lame and simple, but it just, for example, shows the 10 latest RIF USD transfers, and it just makes a GraphQL request, gets this data, and puts it really nicely. The nice thing with GraphQL is you can do really nice things like order by. So we could say we want to get the 10 biggest transfers of the RIF USD dollar. And there's this order by field. We're going to order it by value, and we're going to order it in descending order. Now, if I hit this play button, there we go. We're going to see the 10 biggest transfers of the RIF USD dollar. In descending order, you can see here's this query, and you would be able to basically copy this query into your front-end code, send it off to your GraphQL endpoint, which right now is locally, and get this result returned. And if you are a wizard with, CSS, Tailwind, Next.js, you could have something that looks really great, right? So that in a nutshell, very, very quickly, is how you can get started super quickly with indexing in Rootstock. And I'm just going to stop this indexer for a second. You can see it's currently indexing live now. Any new blocks, it will immediately search for if there's any events. But I'm going to quickly just open up this repo or this folder, this indexer that was created, just to show you what the indexer actually looks like. So just tell me if you're able to see this. There we go. So very, very quickly. Does that work well? Cool. So the indexer was auto-generated for you, but it's really a boilerplate for you to get going and do even more impressive things. So to recap, we've just run Envio init. We've pasted that contract address from the Rootstock Explorer, and all of this code is auto-generated for you. and it's working out the box and it's indexed all that data. All we did was run Envio in it. We pasted that contract address, and in just a couple of seconds, less than 20, we indexed all of the data and we had it in a nice GraphQL endpoint in order to query. Now, I'm just going to show you a couple of the basic parts of this index and what's been auto-generated. The schema.graphql here is generally defining the shape of your data. So you can see I've just got this transfer object over here, an ID, a from, a to, and a value. And that's corresponding exactly to, if we go to this data table over here, these fields, the from, the to, the ID, the value, right? And you are able to, as a developer, add different fields, add different values, change the logic, how you set them. It's really a starting point, but I'm just going to leave that for now. Next, I'd like to show you this config, and this config is very simple. It just defines what data am I going to suck up. And what we have here is we have the network ID of Rootstock, the start block, and we essentially have the address of this RIF USD contract, and we define the data that we want to index, which is, you can see under events over here, it's this event with this signature. Great. And then the third part I'd like to show you is under source, the event handlers. This is what actually happens when one of those transfer events on the Rootstock blockchain is emitted from the smart contract. So remember, we got 7 million blocks, 219,000 of these were emitted. We found them all, and every single time one of these is emitted and we processed it, this block of code over here is going to be run. So you could put whatever you wanted in this block of code. You could put a post to Twitter and post to Twitter 219,000 times, although that's probably going to fail. You can really run any kind of logic in here. But you can see in this case, we're doing something extremely simple. We're just creating an entity. And remember, here we defined in our table what the entity looks like. So we create one and we access the event data. Params.from, and there's other things too. For example, we could say my field, and when you click event dot over here, there's things around the block, the chain ID, log index, the source address, the transaction. There's a lot more data available for you too, but I'm going to leave that for now. And we are simply just getting the event data. And then all we are doing is saving it. So simple as that. We're grabbing the data and we are saving it. And this is the code that's all auto-generated, and it's behind what I've just shown you, this indexer that's indexed these 219,000 events. And now we have all of this data locally. Fantastic. So from here, I'd like to just go take a step back and show you some things that are being built with it, what it can look like with a little bit more finesse, effort, and perhaps more time than we have right now. So for example, I'll show you this one quickly. This is indexing Uniswap v4, and it's made the exact same way with Envio and a few extra data fields added. And you can see this ticking up in real time, showing all the new swaps coming from multiple different chains. And that's something that you would be able to build and show as a dashboard. And it's something we can even do now in a second with the Uniswap v3. Some other cool things. And this actually is a quick shout out to something called Hypersync. So what we've been talking about is HyperIndex, this indexing framework, and HyperIndex uses Hypersync to get the data from the Rootstock chain. And if you don't want to use HyperIndex, you have your own opinions on how to store data, get data, and you want it to maybe be a little bit more custom and flexible, you can in fact use Hypersync, and I won't go into it in this video. You can find it in the docs over here, there are hypersync docs. So go check that out if you would like to. And actually, while I see it and it's on my mind, if you like using Envio, do give us a star on GitHub. I'm going to open this up now because I'd love to earn your star. You can check over here our repo. There's a ton of commits, there's a ton of new releases, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. So yeah, that would be really appreciated. Get on here, check it out, have a look, and give it a commit and read more about some of the features and again the installations here too. But back to quickly talking about hypersync in the docs. Also want to show you some things that could be achieved with hypersync, and one is this Epic Block Explorer scope. And a lot of the requests on scope are using hypersync, which is a really fast way to extract on-chain data. It's super sleek. It looks great. You can see all of your different transfers, logs. You can nail through them. It's super fast. It's nice. It's good looking. So that's something cool to show you. And then something else I thought that's fun to show you is chain density. And this allows you to figure out how busy a contract is over the entire blockchain, either how many transactions have been interacted with this contract or how many events. And I'd like to demo it with Rootstock and actually pick a contract on Rootstock. So maybe we can do that. How does that sound?
That's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Cool. So let's go to Rootstock over here and let's head across and let's take, there's lots going on here. Why don't we go back to tokens, because that's an easy one. And let's take this RUSDT token. I'm going to copy its address. And if we just wanted to see how busy is this contract, how much data is there, how many events are there, we could paste in this address and we could find RSK, Rootstock. There we go. I've named it better here. And when we hit submit, it's going to actually scan the entire Rootstock network for this address. And it's going to print us this nice graph that says, okay, we've processed 7 million blocks and there's 877 events in this contract. And what's quite nice is you can see the block intervals here. And what you can see, which is really cool here, is that the activity is really starting to pick up over here in the last million or two blocks. A lot more events are being emitted. The reason why a graph like this is generally quite useful is you are indexing all of this data. And when you index all of this data over all of these blocks, what you'll realize is over this block period where there's less events emitted, it might index the data a lot quicker because there's actually less data to get. Whereas when you get to this point, you see there's a lot more events being emitted. It might be slower generally because you're having to collect more and more information. So not every 1,000 blocks is the same, is what I'm trying to say. The way in which they are dispersed, these events can differ, and I like to call it event density. But something to just note is we've put a lot of effort into making sure it's lightning fast to index, and that's why you generally actually wouldn't even notice it here on Rootstock, and we could smash through all 200,000 events in just 20 seconds. Bada bing, bada bang. Nice and easy. Great. So that's a little foray into all of that. And I think what I next want to show you is how to actually deploy your indexer so that we can, what we've just done now locally, we can actually see on a hosted service, and that your application is able to use it and you can deploy it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that flow real quick, and it shouldn't be too hard at all. So let's hit hosted service, and let me just hit a refresh. There we go. And while this loads, give it a second. I've actually created a GitHub repo that's blank. There's actually nothing really in it. It's called Rootstock indexing. You can see it's over. Where is it? It's over here. It's brand new, fresh repo. nothing's happening over here, and I'm going to show you how to deploy this indexer that we've seen over here and create it in just a couple of seconds. So let's go back to over here, the hosted service. I'm going to click add new indexer, and if you haven't logged in before, it's very simple. You just do it with GitHub and you follow the prompts. Oh, I've reached my limit. That's very sad. I'm going to have to delete one, unfortunately. I'm going to take this uni NFTs one, and I'm going to actually just delete it so that I can actually get in. So what we're going to actually do now is look at indexing Uniswap, as it's a contract that's very interesting to index, and there's a lot going on. So I'm excited to show you how that actually looks. But before we get into indexing Uniswap, I'm actually just going to stop this indexer that we've created, PNPM Envio stop, just so we can clear that out and create a new one. And I'm actually just going to delete it because you know what? It's so easy to create. Why not just delete it? RM, remove French, star. There we go. Yes, I want to delete everything in here. Great. And now again, we have a blank template to start off with. And there's two contracts I actually want to index because this is a Uniswap v3 pool. But there's lots of Uniswap v3 pools that are being made on Rootstock by the Uniswap v3 factory, right? So we got to be able to not just listen to events from one Uniswap v3 pool, but from many different Uniswap v3 pools. And this is something that's quite interesting that I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do. So again, we're going to start off with Envio init, and I'm going to grab this v3 factory contract here. And I'm going to run our trusty Envio init. And you've seen these options now, so I'm going to breeze through them quite quickly. But what we are going to go choose again is Rootstock. There we go. And I'm going to paste in this address. And what we are going to find is, a bunch of different events. And the only one we actually going to care about here is pool created. We basically want to keep track of all of the new Uniswap v3 pools that are created because we want to index them. So I'm going to hit enter. And now instead of finishing up, I'm actually going to index another contract. So I can go down and say, I want to index another new contract. So I'm going to add a new contract. Again, I'm going to put it on the block explorer and pull it. And again, I'm going to go down and select Rootstock. Here we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab, just to start off with this Uniswap v3 pool, I'm going to grab this address because we want to get all of the data from this Uniswap v3 pool. And again, we're going to be faced with all of these interesting events like burn, collect, flash, mint. And let's just say we're actually only interested in burn, mint, and swap events. I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to say I'm finished. And again, I'm going to skip adding for now. And again, this is the part where the magic's happening. Everything is just being created nice and easily for us. Cool. So just to start off and show you, if I run PNPM Envio dev, again, we're going to have things indexed, but we're actually going to dive quickly into the indexer in order to do, like I said, index all of the contracts created from the factory, because that's not happening by default. So you'll see here, our indexing is going, we're searching, and it's going to breeze through and find our events. But like I said, what we actually want to do in this case is go through and make sure that we can get the factory events registering contracts. So what that means is if I hit cursor, let's say I want to open that as my editor this time, and I'm going to again zoom in here nicely for you. In our config, what's different this time is you'll notice we are indexing two different smart contracts, a Uniswap v3 pool contract and a Uniswap factory. But remember what I said, this factory is creating lots of pool created events, and we want, every time there's a new pool created, we want to index all of those events from that pool. Now, this information is available on the doc, how to do it, and it's super, super simple. So I'll show you what that looks like. If you just search here and you search for example factory, you can see how we're going to do it right over here. You simply add that contract into the indexing. So I'm going to go again and show you what that looks like. That was our previous indexer. In our event handlers, you can see again, every time a pool created event has happened, this is what's happening. We're just saving the data. But what we actually want to do is we want to say every time a pool is created, we also want to add it as a contract that can also be indexing these events, burns, mints, and swaps. So dynamically, we are indexing more and more contract addresses. And this is a pretty useful pattern. And to do that, all we have to do is add, and I've actually pre-typed this out, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. It'll save us a bit of time. There we go. And all we're doing is we're saying every time a pool created event comes from the Uniswap v3 factory, we want to actually register this as a contract and add it as a Uniswap v3 pool that we want to index, right? So this is what I'm talking about. It's generated as a boilerplate for you, but there's lots of different logic you can put inside of these handlers. There's dynamic factories. There's lots of interesting things you can do to make your indexer more interesting and really build a rich data application. So now if I head back over here, I'm going to again run pnpm envio stop because we just changed some code. So I'm going to tear things down and run the index again and just show you how it looks. So while that tears down, I'll start running the command again, pnpm envio dev. And again, what we're going to see now is this is going to bring up the same Hasura terminal where we can see all of the data. But what's going to happen is everything's going to start being indexed over here, and it's going to race through this blockchain and get all of the data. So that's going to be coming through live over here, and we'll be able to see from every single Uniswap v3 contract that has been deployed, we're going to be able to see the burns, the mints, the swaps, all of those pieces, which is going to be, really, really interesting. And it could allow you to build something like this, for example, where you track all of the pools and see how many swaps there are in each pool. It will allow you to build very different types of things, which is really, really nice. So I think that's enough for now. It's been a great place to start to show you how to index. Just before I pass over to some questions, I want to highlight a few key things again. You can deploy the indexer you've created onto this hosted service. There's a development tier that's free. It indexes lightning fast, and it will give you an endpoint. So you can see if you click on one of these indexes, it will actually give you an endpoint with which you can make queries. So yeah, just a reminder, go check that out. That's really nice to see what those endpoints look like, and that you can host it and not have to do it yourself. You can query that endpoint right over there, which is great, and do all kinds of really nice things. A couple other things, again, just check out the repo, give us a star, see what you need over there. Remember, the docs have everything to do with both hyperindex and hypersync, and they can get you going really quickly. And remember, on this quick start, your best friend is Envio in it, and that way you can index Rootstock data immediately and get started really nicely and quickly. And yeah, finally, if you haven't already, we're more than happy to help. We are excited to chat to you. So please do, if you head to envio.dev, you can scroll down to the bottom and you can see, once my internet loads in a second, there should be a little Discord badge over there. You can join our Discord. That would be hugely appreciated, and it would be really, really nice to see you there. But yeah, let me stop there now and get ready for some questions.
Nice one. Thanks so much, Jonjon. That was something quite a mouthful for you to go through, but it was great. I love the simplicity of it. Thanks for walking us through every single line of code to really kind of make sure that explaining GraphQL and all So yeah, love the presentation. I only have a couple of questions to you. One was you showed this a dashboard where you can the place where you can deploy your indexers.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of different, almost like a library. So I was wondering if you could share some of interesting use cases that you have seen, maybe the community developers building, so that our viewers can maybe give a try or maybe get inspired by like the use case or an idea.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, you can see on this Explorer, there's more than 100 different teams that have deployed indexes and are using them for various use cases. A lot of them are using it to hydrate their front end. So you go onto myawesomedApp.com, you click enter, and you want to see all of your activity. It would make this GraphQL request to this indexer, and it would return you all your data. And some of the teams that are using it are Limitless, Gnosis, Aerodrome, Sablier. So it really could be for whatever your protocol might be. It could be quite a difference. But yeah, there's a bunch of different examples, and if you want inspiration, you can just click around and see a bunch. And when you click on them, generally there's this little GitHub repository icon, and a lot of them are open, and you can actually see the code behind the index and what it looks like and get some inspiration yourself. So that's the easiest way to go check it out.
This one, thank you. And if somebody is just starting and perhaps not familiar with GraphQL or don't have any experience with any indexers, you have showed us you've got a quick start. That's obviously a very good starting point. But are there any other resources, maybe to for folks to kind of actually grasp the idea around the concepts and where indexer comes to play in a blockchain and kind of the functionality? Anything you would recommend in terms of resources?
Yeah, great question. So in the docs, like you mentioned, there's also some videos where we go through these concepts nice and clearly, hopefully just like this, really break it down so you can get started. Have a watch of those videos. That's honestly a great place. Community is another one. If you join the Discord, people are very willing to explain concepts and help. And lastly, I guess in 2025, we live in an age of AI where knowledge is increasingly easier to marshal and suck up. So yeah, if you just ask a couple questions on your favorite LLM, it's normally extremely concise and quick to explain a nice concept to you.
Thanks, love it. Great advice. Thank you. All right, and my last question to you is, if folks want to contribute to your code base, so is there an opportunity? Do you accept community contributions? Do you accept pull requests, or is there a system? Perhaps you have some bounties or any other contributor programs, or is it just as easy as pinging you maybe on Discord channel and kind of look, I'd like to work on this feature with you?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, ping us on Discord for sure. But as you can see, there's a couple open issues in the repo. So more than welcome to create a pull request. I think some of those issues have a good first issue label. That's maybe a great one to start. Or if you see an issue, maybe you want to comment on it and say, this is something that I'll be interested in contributing and solving. So yeah, that's a great point. Check it out over there. And if in doubt, message us on Discord and we'd be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, that was pretty much it. Thanks again, Jonjon, for joining us today. Loved the demo. Had a great time chatting with you. And to our viewers, please give Envio's repair a star, as we've discussed. Also, join the community on Discord. And if you haven't yet, Rootstock developer community on Discord, please come and say hello over there as well. And as usual, happy building. Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time.